Greetings, Team DPS. This is Dr. Alex Marrero, proud superintendent here at Denver Public Schools. Thank you for joining us in this special edition of the Marrero Moment. And today I have the pleasure of having a very special guest, Nicole Saab, on the show, who is the senior team lead at Denver Green Southeast. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi, welcome. Hi, thank you.
First question right off the bat, do you have any idea, we have thousands upon thousands of educators in our system, why you received the invitation?
I don't know. I'd love to know.
Well, I'm going to tell you.
Great.
Out of curiosity, have you received any inquiries after your incredible interview that was broadcasted, I should say published, at Chalkbeat, where you were quoted, and a lot of the work that you've done was just illustrated? Talk to me about the fanfare that came about with that. Any curious minds, or some fans, or maybe even some publishers / authors?
Well, yes, of course.
Okay.
In addition to, friends and family who read the article and reached out to me, congratulating me on my work, I did get a book in the mail recently. It was delivered to Denver Green School.
Okay.
The author is Ken Williams. The book is Ruthless Equity.
Ruthless Equity.
Yes. And so I was thrilled to see this book, and I set it down on my desk, and a couple hours later I opened the front cover, and he'd written in there and talked a little bit about what he read in the article and how impressed he was with my work.
Oh, yes,
so
it
that
was.
was cool. It was really
So
cool.
that's how this came about. So first of all, incredible showcase of your work and the work that you're doing for students in a very ruthless way. And ruthless does not have negative connotations when you're using it to disrupt inequities in our system,
Right.
as you are. And if I can just tell you how that came about. So I have a laundry list of things that I have to review, one being media. And this is a celebratory, publication, so I'm excited. I'm watching the Knicks. Ken Williams is not only a friend, colleague, but also someone who's inspired many leaders across the nation. He's also an avid New York fan, as I am, from New York. So he's watching the Knicks, I'm watching the Knicks. We're doing well. This is before the tragedy of both the Nuggets and the Knicks, okay? So I said, hey, you need to watch this, and I sent it to him, or read this. And sure enough, halftime, he read it, and he started calling, he started raving. Who is this Nicole Saab? She is a ruthless dog, in a good way, right? And I'm sure he probably put that in his message.
That, yeah.
He wrote that. So not only did you get my attention, you got the attention of a lot of other folks outside, and I want to thank you for that. So when we were going through, okay, who should get invited to this incredible opportunity to be part of the Marrero Moment, I said, you know what, we have to highlight a teacher, and Nicole Saab is top of mind right now because she is incredible at what she does, as we saw in that article. But now you get to expand a little bit more. So thank you for saying yes.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for having me.
So
Happy
let's
to be here.
start there.
Okay.
Tell us about your journey.
Wow, so I am a Denver native, grew up in Denver, went through Denver Public Schools from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade.
What schools?
Oh goodness, I started at Ash Grove Elementary, which is gone now. I was bused in the 80s up north when the district was attempting to desegregate the schools. So I was bused from Southeast Denver up north to Hallett Elementary. Then I came back to my home school, Home Elementary, Hamilton Middle School, went to Thomas Jefferson High School, graduated there. In addition to teaching in DPS, I went through Denver Public Schools. I'm passionate. My father was an educator in Denver Public Schools. So after high school, I enrolled at CU Boulder and got my undergrad in communications and English, and decided after graduating to move back to Denver, and that's when I enrolled at MSU Denver to get my secondary teaching credentials. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. I know there's a lot that happened in that incredible journey that you just, from childhood all the way to emerging educator.
Yep.
But what was the buttons that were pushed, or what was the inspiration that said, you know what, I want to be like Dad, or I want to give back in a way that you have been beyond what I'm sure that you even envisioned or imagined? Yeah,
you mentioned Dad. I think that anyone who knows me knows that he's my late father's my inspiration. He was 35 years in Denver Public Schools teaching and leading, and came out here in the early 60s as a 20-year-old from Haskell, Oklahoma, and took a job at Morey Middle School. And I just remember growing up, and everywhere we went, he was stopped 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Because he was in the district for so long, he knew so many people, and they would hug him and thank him and shake his hand. I heard the phrase, "changed my life," so many times, and I would look up, and at the time I was probably a little annoyed that they were slowing down our shopping experience, but that just subconsciously resonated with me over and over and over again. And I knew he worked hard, and I knew he was stressed, but I also knew what he gave to his students. He would take them on fishing trips, and the basketball team would come to our house for dinners. He took his role seriously as a teacher and leader, but he got to know his students. And at the time, I didn't necessarily know that I wanted to be a teacher, but I think that I was just absorbing all of that. And in my mind, I thought, I want that. I want to be able to do the same.
Wow. Wow. So we're incredibly grateful that as fate would have it, but more importantly, the impact that you've had. And I visited your classroom before I had to get reacclimated with Nicole Saab via that article. And I know the impact, I've seen it, right? So how grateful we are as a system. And I'm sure a lot of the folks who are watching now saying, yep, she was my teacher and she was great. Even when she was tough, she was great. Because sometimes we have to make sure that we show that it is possible. So I'm going to get into, if you're willing, a little bit more about what makes you so great in the classroom. But let's speak a little bit more about your school, right? Denver Southeast, the Denver Green School in the Southeast. We know, and DPS is a leader across the nation when it comes to sustainability. And because of schools like Denver Green Southeast. Can you share some of the incredible initiatives, programs that are going on down in the Southeast and just for the audience so they can know what's happening? We try to do our best to capture it, but it's 200 plus schools, so many great things. You have a captive audience. Just, there's millions of people watching this.
Millions.
Yeah, millions. So
great.
Please tell them.
So, I've been there for, next year will be my 14th year, so it has to be special to stay in a place for that long. I arrived at Denver Green School Southeast the 3rd year that it was open. The year that the school opened, my son was in kindergarten, and we enrolled him there. And I began volunteering, and I was the class parent, and I taught yoga, and I started to notice what a special place it was. And I think that, we've changed over the years, and our population has changed, and we've grown, which is awesome. But the school, in addition to the Colorado state standards, believe strongly in these education for sustainability standards that we adopted early on. And, our goal is to teach a relevant, engaging curriculum and to grow our learners to be civically engaged, to be good to the earth, to be kind, to be good to themselves. I think that in the younger, we're at K-8, so in the younger years, that sustainability, education for sustainability looks more like environmental sustainability. So they do, projects about bees and the water cycle. They spend a lot of time on our 1-acre farm, which is pretty awesome. And as we get into the older grades, and something that I focus on as the eighth grade English teacher is more social sustainability, civic engagement, civic action. I teach about propaganda and media. We talk about systems of oppression and dismantling them. And I choose texts that are engaging, some classics, some that are brand new. And as our population has changed, I have not necessarily adjusted. I have a very rigorous, engaging curriculum. My students are excited about the learning. They're critical thinkers. And the Denver Green School is a place, I think what's really cool about our school is we're a school of innovation. And so we have the freedom and flexibility to create our own curriculum generally. And so I've been able to choose what I'm passionate about, all my projects, all my units, all my lessons. And the students can feel that. They can feel that passion.
Incredible.
So,
You mentioned the innovation. Part of the Luminary Innovation Network, our sole existing now network of innovation schools. But I love how you just highlighted some things that are written into not only our values as a board of education via the statements that they've created, but it's totally in sync with what we're trying to accomplish as a district. So I believe that as a district, we need to leverage the likes of Denver Green and other schools who are really leading the charge and starting at such an early age. I do believe that once we instill that, and we've learned from students that is a deep desire that they have as well, is shifting what we've done, I guess, in a very rudimentary way, which is sometimes just teaching to what we've, I guess, instilling our past and our present on students, right?
That's right.
So I have been, I've evolved as a leader since being here, in particular in the realm of sustainability. So I thank you, all the youngsters and soon-to-be leaders, but also just the demand from the community. So in terms of those special situations that may arise, I'm going to start something new. You're going to be my first, Nicole.
Okay, ready.
So any interesting hobby skills that you may have that you haven't shared or that not many folks know? And would you please do us the favor of indulging us in what that is, and if you can tie that into maybe some things that maybe students don't know about you.
Yeah, I was thinking about hobbies or talents, and most of mine are not hidden. I just put them out there.
Put it out there. Okay, fair enough.
However, I do, and I this year, we had an influx of migrant students from Venezuela, which has been wonderful, and it's presented challenges, but we've welcomed them and done our very best to adapt. But they did not know that I was a soccer player, football, of course, for them. And so we were in the park one day, and we take our students on all sorts of excursions. This time we were doing a functions field day, where they were, calculating their heart rate and doing all sorts of cool things in the park. And I was sitting in the grass and watching them, and they were kicking the soccer ball. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to play. So I stood up and I started juggling the soccer ball, and I started kicking, and the look on their face, we might not have the same language.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I challenge them. So I'll get to 20 and I'll say, okay, who can do more than that? But they were close to me and I was kicking, and I said, scoot back. Further. And
we have a soccer ball back there, folks.
oh, no, don't put me on the spot. You don't? Oh, well. But I don't speak Spanish, unfortunately. That's one of my goals, to learn Spanish so I can engage more with my students. But we didn't need common language at that time, and they were so impressed. And some of my girls were sitting over there clapping, go Miss Saab. So little things like that where they don't necessarily, I do my best to get to know my students on a personal level, and I share as much as I can, but I like to surprise them every once in a while. So all of those years playing soccer growing up has paid off as I've gotten to know
very good.
students.
Just a little anecdote. I like riddles,
Okay.
and you said football, which,
Yes.
but the original name of that was soccer.
Oh.
Yeah. Look
Okay.
it up, folks. I'm not making this
Okay.
up.
So we've gone from soccer to football to
It was
soccer.
originally soccer. Then I guess football became the common, and then when we here in the States came up with this game of American football, which that is a misnomer because seldomly do they actually kick the ball, right?
With their foot, right.
But then they went into some sort of history book saying it was once called soccer, I guess because you socked the ball around. I don't think I'm wrong there because I did some extensive research there to see where did this come from.
Well, great. Good
But
to
you're
know.
great in both, soccer and football. Probably even rugby as well.
Right, sure.
All right. So thank you for sharing that.
Of
Now I
course.
have a similar question but with a twist.
Okay.
In all your years of having an impact on students, can you share a story that maybe the reciprocal, where you've been impacted? And if you can share a little bit more of what, how, and why.
I was thinking recently, a few years ago, there was a national walkout for gun violence. And, there was a march, and our students asked if they could participate. And we thought, let's be a little bit more intentional about this. Like, of course, we want to say yes. We're a school that, will excuse you as long as your parents are comfortable with that. We will take you to the Capitol, but let's be a little bit more intentional. So I coordinated a teach-in with a number of teachers in this school. We decided to take a couple days, put aside our regular curriculum, and teach the students about the Second Amendment, gun control, unbiased views from both sides, both perspectives. So we spent a couple days in all of the classes, all the subjects, teaching them a little bit about gun control, gun violence, gun rights. And then at the end of those 2 days prior to the walkout, the students had to write up whether or not they wanted to be involved, why or why not, what they've learned the past couple days. And then after that, of course, we got parent permission. They made posters. We walked to the Capitol. It was one of those days. I remember thinking, like, this is why I do what I do. Just watching them out, they're so passionate, and they're the ones that are impacted by gun violence. And so I was super proud that I led that initiative, and the teachers were on board, and the students were so grateful that they had the opportunity to participate. You know, they're young adults, they have amazing things to say, they want to be engaged. So that's one of those examples of like civic engagement versus civic action. We took them,
for sure.
and they had their voices heard. So
Wow.
that was a really, I think that was probably 4 or 5 years ago. That was a really memorable experience, and I just learned so much from them, their bravery and their courage being out there and voicing. I remember there was media and they had microphones, and some of my Denver Green School students were on the mic just talking about how important the topic was for them, and so it was
Incredible.
that proud teacher moment.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure those students not only remember that, it's probably going to have an impact for years and possibly their entire lives.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm sure if I were to ask them who's been influential, I'm sure that some would mention you. So my next question is that, is there a person that you will love to just highlight who's been instrumental, influential in your career?
You could probably guess who I'm going to say.
Dad?
Yeah, I keep going back to that. I mean, I'm a family of educators. My little sister is actually a principal at a middle school in Salida. But it always goes back to my dad. And I've worked with some really inspiring leaders, and I've learned a lot from colleagues and teachers. But it always goes back to my father. And when I describe myself as that, I hate the phrase tough love. Maybe it's more no nonsense nurturer, that warm demander. If that description of me as having really high expectations, I just think about my father, because that's how he was as a dad. That's how he was as an educator. I learned that from him. It's that person that you don't want to disappoint them, because that whatever firm or tough, whatever they're going to present to you that seems so tough and firm is actually because they care and they believe in you. And so whenever people ask me, where do you get this like assertive nature in the classroom, and it's always from my dad.
Wow.
So yeah.
So maybe this is also potentially an answer for the next one. What keeps you motivated? And maybe let me qualify by saying during the hard times. And that this role that we're in sometimes is thankless.
Yes.
Right? Incredibly challenging. They want you to wear many, many hats. And even then they say that you're not doing enough. At least I've heard a lot of these stories. I've experienced a whole lot. So it can be challenging, to say the least. What motivates Nicole each and every day, but also year after year?
Right, to keep going. A few things. I think that I have two kids. They were both in my classroom at the Denver Green School in 8th grade.
Okay.
One is now 19, one is 16.
Did they ever get detention?
Never, no,
Okay,
of course not.
good.
They were the best students. So somebody once told me, when you have children, it's going to change you as an educator. But that wasn't necessarily for the positive. They said, you're going to need to take time away. You're going to focus more on your kids. It actually had the opposite effect for me, so that every time a student came into my classroom, I saw them as somebody's baby, right? Somebody loves you as much as I love my kids. Somebody cares for you, wants you to be educated, believes in you, believes in your success. And so I think that's part of it. Just not only having my own kids, but actually having them physically in my classroom and looking at them, and then looking at all the other faces of children who just need somebody to believe in them. So I have 1 year, and I always say that, I have 1 year. I'm your last stop before high school. I am going to do everything I can, that if you don't like school, this is the year that I'm going to make you like school. If you've had struggles with teachers or you haven't trusted people, this is the year that hopefully I'll be able to build that for you, so that when they enter high school, they're feeling a little more positive, a little more welcomed and safe as a student. So I would say that's part of it. Also my drive. I've been a lifelong educator, but now I'm going back to being a student. I've enrolled in the Ritchie program for educational leadership and policy studies.
Great.
So I'm hoping to expand my influence. I'm a leader in the school, so I coach various other teachers at Denver Green School, but now I feel like I can have a greater impact on whole school communities.
For those who don't know, the Ritchie program is an administrative program preparing leaders in different capacity, as you mentioned, a teacher leader, senior leader, in a more administrative, position.
That's right. Yep.
So exciting to hear.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm sure it's going to be, as many of us have experienced, devastating for those in the roles that we may be leaving behind, but the impact is greater.
That's right.
Simply put.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
So thank you for that. Actually, that leads me to my last question.
Okay.
All right. So, proven leader, legacy educator, highlighted in print and now in video, revered amongst colleagues, appreciated amongst researchers and authors. What advice do you have for those new educators who just started, or those who are considering coming into the profession? I believe that as a society, and I'm including us as a system, and all the way up to higher ed, that we've done harm in bringing to light the excitement and the impact of, I think we've lost the spark in education. Less professionals are going into the profession. It pains me deeply, especially as the leader of this organization. I ultimately am responsible for staffing the entire organization. But that's the worst type of chart that you see, that the need is up and the desire and enrollment is down. And how can we reignite that is a question I guess I have for everyone else. But for you, for those who are embarking in this journey or starting, what advice do you have for them?
Yeah, wow. Well, first of all, thanks for making me sound so good. That's quite the description. I appreciate that. Yeah, teacher retention is a big concern. I coach new teachers in our school, and every year it's kind of, I just cross my fingers, like, please come back, you're great. I would say, there's so much pressure on teachers to get through the content, get through the curriculum, prepare your students for the tests. My biggest piece of advice, and I have a couple, would be to be okay with taking time out to get to know your students. Sit with them, listen to them. You pull them over for a writing conference, and before you start that writing conference, how was your weekend? What did you do? What did you eat for dinner last night? I mean, I just ask and ask. I remember a couple days later, oh, you said you visited your mom in Vegas. How was that visit? They know that I remember, they know that I care, especially middle school. I mean, all students want that, but middle schoolers need to trust you and need to know that you like them, right? It's, the joke is always like, whenever I tell somebody I teach middle school, they're just like, oh, thank you, bless you, right? Like, bless your heart. And so I think that being okay with just not like content, just taking a pause and getting to know your students. And showing that you really care about them. They have complicated lives. We have, our students are highly impacted by trauma, and they have all sorts of struggles. If they see you as a person who actually cares about them, checks in with them, then that rigorous journey you're about to take them on will be that much easier. So that's number one. I think number two is, this is in the classroom, but this is just how I run my class. Let them talk more than you. So much collaboration. When they came and wrote the article, my students were up and around the room talking and sharing, laughing. It is loud, it is noisy, it is focused, and the students are joyful and excited about learning because they're collaborating, they're talking, especially with our influx of new MLE students. We need to get them talking and speaking, and teachers just need to take a little pause. So I think that's more in the classroom, relationship building, just really getting to know your students and letting them use their voices. They are smart. Our students are very capable. And I have one more, and I'll be quick with it. But it's I think I've had so much success because of my genuine belief in all of the students. There's never a time that the students come into my classroom where oh, this is a identified student on an IEP, or this is an MLE student, and they're not going to be able, they will be able to do it because I support them, I scaffold, there's collaboration, there's discussion. Every single student who walks into my classroom, I believe in them. If they're a struggling reader, they're not a struggling thinker. So I can look at the data on reading, and then I can say, okay, I'll work with them on that, but we will be critical thinkers. I will present super rigorous, engaging material to every single student. Nobody's going to know who's a struggling reader in this classroom because they're all going to be engaging at a high level. And so it's that belief, and I don't know if you can teach that or coach that necessarily.
It's a mindset.
It's a mindset.
It's a mindset. Incredible.
Right. So it's the belief in every student's ability.
Wow, what a way to end it. Incredible.
Thanks.
Incredible. And we started with the gentleman, but I'm going to use one of his lines that I have put into my lexicon, which is, of course, we have to be ruthless in our pursuit of equity, which you do as well. And in my case, I also say that we have to be ruthless in the pursuit of eliminating those factors that prohibit us from getting to what you just described.
That's right.
Right? If the bar is here and this is what the crown is, this is what success looks like, no one can tell me that no one can get there. Right? Wow, what a tremendous pleasure to have you here in the Marrero Moment. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
I want to thank everyone in our DPS community for joining us and for being part of this and many conversations that impact our students each and every day. You can subscribe to all DPS content like the Marrero Moment by searching for the Denver Public Schools podcast. I'll see you next time. Thank you again, Nicole.
Thank you.
And help me by doing this. This is how we say goodbye here.